All right, Cyber Traders, good afternoon and welcome on back here this Tuesday, June 15th, shortly after 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Welcome on back, of course, for our afternoon meeting. I did not do a sound check live inside our trading room just before I hopped on, so please let me know if you can hear me loud and clear. Otherwise, great to see Lewis, Patrick, Brian, who've been chatting with me all throughout this afternoon. Rightfully so. We had a pretty active afternoon coming off our Traders Talk workshop. Great to see you, Ray, Leda, Bonnie, William D. Great to see you all. William, I think I'll be talking to you pretty shortly, if I'm not mistaken. So I look forward to that for all of us in social media, Facebook Live and YouTube. Welcome on back. So, I mean, hey, we have the Riot trade on the screen to begin. I'll be talking about Bitcoin. So I'll just do that briefly in a moment. But for right now, Riot, man, this ended up making a really sharp bounce back up going into the early afternoon. I mean, easy to see based on the 1 minute chart, but it was holding over 34 pretty nicely throughout the morning, broke under and over an iceberg there. And, typically for a stock that dropped off after the market opened, around 10:15, 10:30, 10:45 Eastern time, that's what we call reversal time. So to see this make lower highs and fail to break higher here, come back down, it's not to say that I'm expecting continuation going into the afternoon. You know the song and dance that we go through here on Riot and Mara and Canon, these Bitcoin mining affiliated stocks. So to see this bounce back up, I mean, not at 10:30 Eastern, but a little bit after, right around noon, we ended up seeing it reemerge back over 34, ended up making this really sharp squeeze up. So just going to show Mara, just going to show Canon here. Both ended up making a very similar bounce roughly around the same time. Maybe Mara ended up making its bounce just a little bit earlier, but nonetheless, Canon, very similar play right off the 12 o'clock time frame here. So really quick, I'm not going to have it up too much. I'll probably dig more into Bitcoin, the charting and all of that going into tomorrow and probably going to Thursday. But I just want to show it brief because it just shows correlation between the stocks that we're calling out and Bitcoin's move just over the last 2-3 hours, basically from 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock Eastern time here. Bitcoin ended up moving up over 1,000 points. That's not really that big of a move compared to what we've seen up and down on Bitcoin. But, obviously up is what we're looking for here. I was saying to you folks going into yesterday with it breaking over the 500 EMA that we were talking about just over the last couple of days, I thought that we'd see this begin to pull back, and I still think that we will. To see this pop up just over the last few hours, I'll take it. So I'm happy to be wrong in that sense. And I hope I'm completely wrong. I just don't think that we're fully out of the doghouse yet. I feel like this should come back down at some point for one more consolidation. And then hopefully we'll see the big move from there. But leading into this afternoon, I mean, Riot, Mara, Canon, I'll come back to these if need be. Ended up making a big push from earlier today. Riot, you can see now backing off right from 34.50 level for the most part. So we'll come back to these if need be, like I'd said. But we ended up doing really well from earlier this morning, and I want to start really by going over the TRCH trade, and then the top percent gainer, actually number 2 for right now, not the warrants, but just ALF. So to begin, TRCH, man, this was a really fun trade after the market opened up. This wasn't my personal main focus right out the gate at 9:30, so unfortunately, I personally ended up missing the slingshot move as it pulled back towards like 440-ish, 450, and then from there ended up making the extreme run up. But I ended up catching this. I gotta keep shouting him out. One of our students, Patrick M. He ended up making this comment like right as we finished up the audio commentary in our trading room, and he was saying, hey, this could still be a really strong setup. It was when it was under 5, it broke back below this $5 level. It's just a matter of if this could re-break above resistance, and 5 was a major resistance going into this morning, set from pre-market, and after the market opened up, we ended up only seeing the iceberg grow on the ask at 5. So, hey, that easily could have held as the top. This easily could have pulled back and reversed from that price. It could have made a false pop and did that after, but this ended up giving us a really good opportunity once it re-broke above resistance off of 5. So really, this was my best trade of the day. I was in on this trade on 2,000 shares. I scaled out incrementally. So I took 500 shares at like 520 to pick up some money at first. I thought it would push up higher, but just to walk away with some profit at least. And over time, I kept doing the same. 548 or 546, I think I closed another 500 shares out. I got out around 6, and then maybe one more time around like 608 or something. So ended up treating me very nicely. You could see what became a major resistance, or Rather, what was a major resistance is now a major support. So to see this pull back all the way down to 5, I actually had one of our students chatting with me just a moment ago, Chuck, and he was, just asking relatively about like the float and, the volume on TRCH. He ended up actually closing out just a small fraction of his swing trade. He wrote that in the trading room, so I'll give Chuck a quick shout out. I think he's in on a swing trade right now from like 275, 250, something really nice on the TRCH trade. But, point being, once this pulled back down to 5, the first instance of it pulling back down there, at least, it's easy to say, but man, that was a really nice bounce initially. So that actually could have been a nice squeeze going into the afternoon. The more tests support at 5, the more it pokes at it without it breaking off and running from that price. I'd only imagine for the stock to crash back below it. That's natural. So I don't know. I feel like for the remainder of the day, the torch trade going into the afternoon, although it had bounced nicely from here, I just don't think it's going to give us as much now heading into the afternoon. All right, the ALF trade looks pretty flat right now. We would have gotten to this anyways. We start from the top of the gainers list in a moment, but this ended up coming off of news. I think there was some collaboration deal between this company and Uber and Lyft, and more so the drivers, that are driving for them. Some tablet I think they're coming out with to help with ride share, if I'm not mistaken. So, hey, ended up beginning to make this pop at 8 o'clock. That doesn't guarantee the move after, but it's to say that if this stock could break above resistance, if it could re-break above resistance after the market opens up, almost just like the torch trade off of its own 5 level here, when this re-broke above 5 after the market opened, I'm talking about right here, it ended up making this huge squeeze up, got halted a few times on the way up. I don't know if this got halted on the way down. I'd be interested to check. My rule of thumb is that when a stock gets halted on the way down, that's a wrap. That is game over. So you could see actually here, notice my time here. It goes from 10:13 on the 1-minute chart to 10:18. It's not a 5-minute chart. It's a 1-minute chart. So the stock actually got halted at 10:13 on the way up. And then once it reopened, it didn't halt on the way down, but obviously the volume traded per minute dived off from that point. The stock, for as much as it was up, you can't keep expecting it to move up forever. So ended up beginning to pull back. It flattened out and just became an uglier trade from that stage. So I don't know. I think for this afternoon, we'll definitely write it off, but maybe just for later on this week, we'll keep it back in mind, come back to that trade later on, maybe come by like Thursday, Friday of this week. I know that we have the Fed meeting tomorrow. This isn't like a major mega cap stock that would move with an index like that. It's just simply to say, at least going into tomorrow and this afternoon, I would anticipate a lot more hesitation with the Fed meeting to be announced this time tomorrow. All right. So with that in mind, this could be a good side list stock for the remainder of the week, potentially. We'll just go from top to bottom now. We started off on the TRCH. We have ALF already. Neither of them on our main list for this afternoon, like I'd said, but let's see what else we got. The CLSD trade. Interesting. Norman just said nasty shakedown. Yeah. Hey, to see a stock pump in pre-market, it was trending down leading into the open, so I wouldn't have been really too interested in this trade right out the gate. Ended up making a nice squeeze back up later on, but at this stage now, not worth it. Not worth it. We'll talk about the Wish stock also, WISH right now. That stock has been a nice volatile stock for us today, shortable also, so ended up providing a good opportunity on the way down, trying to bounce right now, that Wish stock. JNCE, pretty active right now, I guess, going into the afternoon. Spreads aren't too wild just yet. I see. Here's the issue. This stock, including today, this stock trades an average of 363,000 shares per day. That's like crap. That's nothing. So, even before that, before today, this stock was just trading like 300,000, 292,000 per day. It's a low float stock, very lightly traded across, day by day. I don't know. I'm not really too jumpy to follow this right off the bat. If it ends up making a new high of the day during the meeting, then hey, I'll check it out. Maybe it'll prove itself to me here coming up. There we go. So why do we waste our time on that JNCE when we have the E-Man stock breaking a new high in front of us here? So, I'd rather focus on this, at least for right now. This is, likely also another, thinly traded stock day to day. Prior to the big pop that we had back at the end of May, this stock was barely trading over 1 million shares on average per day. Better than that last one, JNCE. But for right now, either way, It's pushing up nicely. A lot of volume getting filled off the ask year. 20K print filled right on the time in sales at 427. So for right now, I'll put this on our main list. I'd still say be careful based on the smaller orders here across the book. It's fluctuating that spread here a bit, starting to open up a bit, close up. So I'll kind of move around here as it's pushing. Ah, crap. I thought this said BNGO, not BNSO. Oh, no. It's my trader's dyslexia kicking in. All right, let's see what else we got. CTXR. Unfortunately, this one peaked already right off the high, held perfectly, and then dropped back down. So not as jumpy to follow this here. It was a nice trade, it looked like, from earlier this afternoon. A bunch of crap I don't really know too much about here between all of these tickers. Doing this day to day, week to week, month to month, year to year. There are still a couple of stocks that pop up on my radar that surprise me. But for instance, like a CDEV trade, I've seen this stock trade before. It's not one that we call out all the time, if in really at all. Often, but just this stock trades a lot of volume every day. It was just right off the highs a moment ago. This is something I'd rather jump to, at least as I kind of scan. So it doesn't mean I'm going to add it to our list. This might almost be too slow for us. So let's see what else we got. We got to find something right in the middle, something not too slow, nothing too crazy though. That might just be the case with the Fed meeting coming up. We might not have as much activity. See, this stock was a great call out from earlier. Once a couple of our students called out the ride trade, I think Bonnie and Lewis ended up calling this out. It popped up nicely. The volume died off. So does the stock. Here, you got the pop to make a new high, but unfortunately came right back down. So it's still pretty volatile. Maybe I will add this at the end of it all. This might be like the top stock that I have on the side for right now, this ride trade. At least we are familiar with it to a pretty good degree. We've traded this stock long, short, in between, you name it. This thing's like been through hell and back the last year or so. So, at least we're familiar with the name. I'll come back to this certainly at the end. Otherwise, though, I'll tell you for the gainers list, not a whole lot that looks like a familiar name. Maybe KOS, KOS. I've seen that stock before. I guess you could say it's at the highs, but again, just opportunity cost. If I'm trying to watch the grass grow, it's nice outside today. I'll just step outside. So, I don't need to do that here. Let's hop over to the losers list. We'll see what else we got. The DSS trade down enough for me to check out, although it's hard to borrow. There we go. Nice squeeze on this one, at least for right now. Looks slow. Looks like there's a lot of volume that's needed to be filled in order for this to move up. But damn, the stock's down still 38+%. So it's, already making, so to say, a bit of a dead cat bounce right now. We only have E-Man on this whole watch list so far. So, you know what? I like this one enough. It's slow. It's low risk. I don't think it would snap down like, 10, 15, 20 cents within a bat of an eye. So for right now, I like this one here, the DSS stock. Now, otherwise, though, right? A bunch of stuff hard to borrow, so I wouldn't expect a short opportunity up until Tiger, TIGR, a stock that we are really familiar with. Also, a stock that's, so to say, have been through hell and back, so to say, just to see this pump all the way up from the beginning of 2021. Pumped from like 5 all the way to 35, $40 near, dumped all the way down to 15. It's been a very volatile stock. I mean that in a good way. So as long as the spreads are tight or moderately tight and the order book is relatively liquid, which it is right now, we have an order on the bid at 24.20, practically, is that low of the day? Nah, 25 is low of the day here. 24.20, not the low of the day, but right below the low of the day, you have a 32,000 plus share order on the bid. So that certainly is a big support for right now heading into this afternoon. Definitely TIGR. Definitely a lock here so far for this list. Let's see what the news is. It's down enough also. I don't depend on the news to make my decision. I say that for all of us in social media that aren't familiar with our commentary live inside our trading room. So just checking Benzinga Pro really quick, and I hate to say it for this stock. I would have thought there would have been news for this, but Benzinga Pro wrote up fintech shares trading lower, not seeing any company specific news. So, hey, we don't need news. We'll take it down, enough. You would imagine for a stock down 15% today for there to be some sort of news out there. We don't need it. Right now it's at the low, testing that major iceberg. So, we'll follow the trend at first, and we'll see if this could break lower to 24 coming up. Now, talking about shorts, we talked about this very briefly inside our Traders Talk workshop earlier today. I'm not going to dig too much deeper into it now. Oh, not that. Sorry. Whoops. This. Geez, this UXIN. Actually, I'm interested in this also just to check the news, just to show. This stock was up big in pre-market, right? So it looked as if we ended up seeing news come out between UXIN and a company. If it's the same company that I read it as, it's a company that we're really familiar with. So it sounds as if UXIN ended up entering a definitive agreement with NIO, NIO Capital, and Joy Capital, pursuant to which both investors will invest up to $315 million into the company. So what gives? Why did the stock tank after the market opened, right? So you can't throw a dart on the wall and hope it lands in terms of, good news allowing a stock to run up, because if you tried to hold this trade leading into the market open, expecting a big pop, it'll sound blunt here, but I got to say it, you'd be looking like a real ass just holding on to this trade, right? So, we talked about this in our trading room. I don't say that to Bonnie and Grant and Norman. You folks, we covered that trade already here in our trading room. We knew that this was going to drop. We knew it. What was the trend of the stock leading into the open, right? That's what we start with. And that's where I kind of gain my mindset on where the stock is more likely to go after the open. Not 100% guarantee, but more likely than not. So I wasn't buying this stock, right away. I was going to give it time, but at the same time as I say that, I wish I could say I ended up jumping it on the short. Stock is easy to borrow. I was following the Wish trade from earlier this morning. That was my kind of like baby going into the open. So unfortunately, I missed the short. Thankfully, I didn't buy it. Ended up actually making a nice bounce roughly from around like $4.10 or so, but you're not going to try and, wait for that to happen. You're going to be waiting a long time, at least from there. So, for right now, it's pretty flat. This could still be a good side list stock for, remainder of the week. But for right now, just pretty ugly here. All right, what else do we got here, folks? We got the CYCN trade, shortable, down big. It's also pretty cheap, so I don't know how much more room that has to go. AVXL, what made the top percent gainers list yesterday, ended up making the top percent losers list, at least heading into the open and going into the late morning or early afternoon. The stock was down a lot more than what it is here. So, pretty volatile in that sense. It's tradable in that sense as well. I don't really feel too keen on putting this stock personally on the watch list going into the afternoon. I'd said it from yesterday, will still be a good side list stock going forward for tomorrow. Check in with it tomorrow early in pre-market just to see what it's up to. But we'll see what else we got. All right. I ended up taking a 3-cent loss right now. I didn't say this from before. I was going to say it, but I'm watching it on my other screen. I could always re-enter it later on if need be, like we were talking about from class yesterday. But the Wish trade, I was actually just short a moment ago on this trade. Right as I was beginning the meeting, I pulled the trigger. This might make the move now, which I'd be a little ticked off by. But I have time to re-enter if need be. But, this stock ended up doing us really nice from the market open today. It was trending down leading into the open. So to see this drop off, going into the mid to late morning, not a surprise at all. Ended up seeing this stock pop, but then pull back. And once it rebroke the same support level it broke in pre-market, 1175. That's it. So this stock was also shortable, like the UXIN trade. This wasn't on our main morning watch list. It was yesterday. It's a stock that we've been trading over the last week and a half at this point, so we are pretty familiar with it. I'm not going to put this on our list right now. I'm not going to ignore this stock fully myself. Maybe if this can make a stronger pop or drop, I'll call it out again. But I think that there could just be better opportunity going forward compared to a stock trading 125.5 million shares. So I got out. That might be the wrong decision. This pulled back and I would have been still up on this trade at this point, but we'll see. I feel like just altogether, there could be better trades entirely going into the close. All right, so that leads me to you folks. So from Patrick, he's calling out SENS slow, and this was about a few minutes ago, but it was moving up at the time. Yes, and it pulled back just now. So it still seems to be, volatile, tradable in that regard. It's trading 53 plus million shares today. It's not nearly as much as it was yesterday, the day before, but still, even before this whole run up the last week and a half, 2 weeks, it's definitely a lot more compared to what it was doing on an average basis. Good side list stock. Keep it in mind maybe for tomorrow. And hey, this afternoon, if it runs better, we'll call it out. We'll see if there's better opportunities that I may have missed otherwise. Yeah, this FSR, Mike, I don't know if this was not down enough on the losers list for me to catch here. I guess it wasn't. But shortable, broke down below a big support level. It might just be right here at the low, 1707. We ended up seeing a really big spike of volume, and really quick for Debbie M and for all of our students inside Cyber Group. I say this because, well, the TradeStation Matrix volume bars here give me a pretty good idea. Look at the low of the day right now. We're seeing a hell of a lot of volume being filled off 1707, the low. So if I jump to the time and sales here, back from 244, 245 Eastern time, bingo. Look at all these prints on the tape at 1707, 52K, 15K, 11K on a top, the others in between. So this is at the low of the day right now, but damn, I'll tell you, that's a lot of volume considering a wacky price level like 1707. So I would assume the next major support on the bid to be right off the whole number. Either way, great call, Mike. I like this one. FSR is a short, and if it ends up failing to dump off low or hold 17, maybe we could get a dead cat bounce, but for right now, I'm definitely interested in this as a short. I like it. All right, so we got at least FSR from our trading room here. And let's see what else we got from YouTube right now. A couple of us from Trading PC got asking a few stocks here. So I'm just going to go through these briefly. They had asked these throughout the last 5 to 10 minutes. So I'm just catching back up right now. I apologize. But CLSD we covered. BRFS pushing up a little bit. Not a bad call. It's up 4+%. So obviously not up for the not up to see it on the gainer side here just yet, but this stock looks to be breaking 52-week highs today. Not all-time highs. Ended up taking a huge hit going back into the pandemic last year. It's a good call because it's one that we didn't really see up until right now. So from our friend Trading PC on YouTube here, I appreciate the shout. The thing on this trade is that the volume really waned off after the move up. So I'm not fully convinced of this moving up higher just yet, but wouldn't be bad to keep it on like the back end there, your side list. SENS we kind of talked about just before, same thing. From Dan F on YouTube, XERS. Ooh, this one's pushing up a bit, right? So another one that I guess it was moving up as I was going from top to bottom, but ended up making a big push here so far. I like this. I mean, I don't know how I didn't find this before. XERS, and there's also one that I've traded in the past that we've called out inside Cyber Group, off of news or pops and drops in pre-market, not every day, but it's at least one that I've seen before. Okay, cool. I like it. Good spread, good liquidity, 19K order on the ask at 450. And TLRY under 18 worth watching. I don't know. I don't really. I mean, shortable near the lows, down over 5%, right? If I put this stock on the list, do I have to put every pot stock on the list, Mitch? That's the thing, right? So unless if the sector is completely, utterly getting crushed, which, it's down on the day, but it's not like completely, utterly getting crushed. I feel like we could hold off. If you do well on Tilray day to day, maybe, slip it on your personal list. But not really too much going on just yet. From Leda, she's asking Gray, Gray, going anywhere, asking that is, the hell is this? Gray Bug Vision. I'll tell you, this is a stock that I have never really, seen before, but ended up making a huge dump off going back into the pandemic last year. I don't think we traded it then. Man, for all of the volume getting filled now, or from June 11th last week, June 10th, 2 days I was out personally. So I guess you folks ended up trading this stock. I didn't really even see this. Pushing back up for right now. Nice trend from 490 up to 514. Not fully convinced, I'll be honest. I mean, it's a nice trend. It's a cheap stock with good liquidity. So if I'm wrong, I'll be happy to be wrong, and it'll be a stock that I'll certainly watch and keep on my radar going into tomorrow and remainder of the week. But for right now, it's not up enough percentage-wise, and just for the pop and then dump off back on June 10th and 11th, we'll see this make another run back up at some point, and maybe it is today. But for right now, I feel like this thing's going to dump off. The volume just suddenly kind of waned down there over the last couple of minutes. All right, so folks, I think that's just about it. Running thin on time here, 2:54 Eastern time. So I'm going to finish up. I'm going to post and tweet these picks right now for all of us live inside the Cyber Group room and for all of us on social media. For all of us there on social media, as always, I appreciate you sticking with me each and every afternoon. Feels good to be back in my normal seat, just doing the afternoon meetings. You got Fausto back in his normal seat in the mornings. we're back to normal. But nonetheless, though, folks, make sure to like, subscribe, notify right on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/cybertradingu. Otherwise, if you've yet to experience our cyber group trading room, feel free to join us Monday to Friday. All you need to do, just go right down to the link on the banner below just to get yourself started. For all of us there right now, like Norman and Leda and Michael, the extra 100 of us on top, I'll be talking to you folks coming up pretty shortly. I'll be back on the mic myself right around 3:30. All right, take care.